Happy Monday, Virtual Rockets. We have another week of phonics. Last week, I wasn't sure if we were done with phonics or not, but I do think that this is our last week of a new phonics pattern, and so our new spelling list and spelling test. So this week is super important, so I'm super glad that we got to this because we are looking at some suffixes. And we have talked about suffixes this year outside of our phonics pattern, but now we're kind of getting a chance to memorize and look at a couple of them and break apart certain suffixes and talk about their meanings. So I'm going to read through the new words, and I want you to listen and look for the suffixes, the end on each word, and what you see that's in common. So I'm just going to read the new words. Feel free to just listen the first time. I like to read them through 2 times. So if you just listen the first time, that's totally fine, but try to read with me the second time. Okay. So we have youngest, weekly, kindly, painful, hopeful, thankful, longer, mouthful, fairest, wishful, lighter, weekly. I want you guys to really look at the end of those words and see if you can figure out which suffix patterns we'll be focusing on this week. I'm going to read them one more time. See if you can read with me. Youngest, weekly, kindly, painful, hopeful, thankful, longer, mouthful, fairest, wishful, lighter, weekly. Let's get out a blue pen. One suffix that I'm seeing and hearing is full. Let's see if we can find all of the endings that have full, like with hopeful. And I noticed that H-O-P-E spells hope. I'm not dropping an E. I'm not changing anything on that word. I'm just adding F-U-L, hopeful. Thankful. Thankful. Painful. Painful. Mouthful. Mouthful. Wishful. Wishful. What other suffix do you see at the end of these words? I see a couple more. I see EST, youngest, fairest. EST is really good when I'm comparing two things. She could be younger, but he could be the youngest. So ER and EST are really good for comparisons. This suitcase might be lighter than the first suitcase, but the third suitcase is the lightest. ER-EST. So I kind of want both of those in yellow, although ER and EST are spelled differently. We want to think of them as the ones where we're really comparing two things typically. And the last one I see in here is LY. Weekly, kindly, and weekly again, but we have an EA instead of an EE. So LY is typically going to describe how or when we do something. How did he speak to her? He spoke to her kindly. When did he do his homework? He did it weekly. How did he lift the chair? He lifted it weekly. W-E-E-K is going to be week, like Monday through Friday. Weak, W-E-A-K, is like the opposite of strong. So that's kind of an extra trick they threw in there for this week, is not just our suffix endings, but you're going to have to make sure you know the difference between week, like the days of the week, and week, like not strong. Let's quickly look at our review words, and let's move this guy. So our review words are at the bottom in white, and then we're going to kind of go back and focus on those new words again. But our review words are lucky, carry, only, sunny. And all of our review words had one thing in common, and that was this letter Y. And we talked about how Y could steal the sound of I or E. Which sound is the Y making in lucky, carry, only, sunny? Definitely an E sound at the end of all of those words. Our Y makes an E sound. So that was our pattern from last week. I want to kind of dive into some of these rules to think about what the purpose of the suffix is. So we talked about youngest, fairest, longer, lighter. Those are the 4 we have this week, but these are words that we see everywhere all the time because they are great for comparison. This top snake might be long. In real life, just because he's smaller than this snake doesn't mean he's short. He could still be long, but snake 2 is longer. Is snake 2 the longest one? No, I can see that snake 3 is even longer, so we say long, longer, longest. So that's where ER and EST really come in handy when we're comparing a group of things. We want to know what's longer, we want to know what's longest, because these 3 things are very different sizes. I also wanted to touch on full. Full is a suffix that means full of. So this one is a pretty simple one once you remind your brain that full just means full of. Beautiful means full of beauty. Joyful means full of joy. Helpful means full of help or being someone that helps a lot. So when we're full of something, that means we have a lot of joy, a lot of beauty, a lot of help to give. That last rule that we talked about, I'm going to kind of erase the mess I made here, was our LY. Let me just highlight or underline those guys. Weekly, kindly, weekly. So we see the word week. We see the word kind. We see the word week. LY typically tells us how or when. It's an adverb. How did she speak to him? Kindly. When did he do his homework? He did it weekly. How did he lift the chair? He lifted it weekly. So these are really good for describing situations and answering questions like how or when. So there is a lot going on this week with our new phonics patterns. We will be working a lot with these different endings, kind of reminding our brains what each suffix adds to the base word and how it changes its meaning. And we, of course, also want to make sure we know how to spell these words. So today, your activity, just kind of, because we're introducing a lot of different ideas here, I feel like usually we kind of have one phonics pattern, and I feel like this week we've got a lot of different suffixes and we want to know how to spell them, but we also need to know their meaning. So there's a lot of important stuff going on this week. So because of that, our little intro activity today is pretty simple, and you're going to have a choice. Your first choice is a game called Kitten Race, and you will be practicing with suffixes. If that doesn't work on your computer, or if you just would like to try something different, I also put in our word search like we've done previously. And I like the word search because I think it just gives your eyes another chance to read the words and think about the spelling. We've got some different practices this week where we're going to be thinking more about what the words mean, how the suffixes change the meaning of the word. So I want to make sure we kind of balance knowing how to spell it and knowing the meaning, because those are both super important pieces to phonics. So today we're just going to kind of look at some suffixes in the first game, or you can use our actual spelling words in the word search. I just want you to choose one of those. If you would like to do both, you are of course welcome to do so. Neither one should take too long. If you do the word search and you would like to send me a screenshot, you can. Mrs. Thomason also found out that I can kind of see through the word search website who's done it and who's completed it. So either way is fine with me. If you have questions, let me know. I feel like this is a lot of information for a Monday compared to our normal phonics lesson. But otherwise, I'll be back tomorrow, and we're going to go through these words again and talk about their meanings and talk about the suffix purpose. And we'll kind of build on that every day this week.